On December 13, 1862, while charging the heavily defended stone wall at Marye's Heights, blood flowed in streams as the soldiers of the 145th Pennsylvania Regiment climbed the ridge. The fog had just begun to lift over the town of Fredericksburg, only to return in the form of gun smoke. Union soldiers dashed through open, unprotected fields, frosty droplets of morning dew still clinging to the grass, only to come upon a canal crossed by 3 narrow bridges. Like marbles being dropped into a funnel, they filtered onto the overpass in columns, as if the Northern Infantry were simply lining up like cows for slaughter. It was not a battle, said Pennsylvania Governor Andrew Curtin. It was a butchery. Up the ridge they ran, feet slipping on mud and the blood of their comrades. Musket volley and artillery fire soared past. Within minutes, nearly half of the infantry had been killed or wounded, including 9 line officers and Colonel Hiram Brown, whose injury was nearly fatal. Collectively, close to 13,000 Union casualties occurred at the Battle of Fredericksburg, topping that of D-Day's Omaha Beach in World War II. Erie County is much more than a dot on the map. Those who serve from Erie County are remembered for their courage, bravery, and national pride, namely the infantry of the 83rd, 111th, and the 145th Regiments. None of their losses were caused by blunders. None occurred in distressing routes. Its dead always lay with their faces to the enemy. Soldiers in the Erie Regiment seemed to gravitate toward the bloodiest of battles, and they fought to the bitter end. Second to only the 5th New Hampshire Regiment, the 83rd men had more battle deaths than any other Union regiment in the entire war. However, without being able to put faces to the nameless and only having the vast numbers of deceased to behold, it's difficult to measure the sacrifice and courage of the Erie regiments. Jacob E. Swap, an Erie County resident who enlisted at the age of 15, received the Medal of Honor for his acts of bravery during the battles of the Wilderness and Spotsylvania. Ill and confined to an ambulance, Jacob dove into combat against medical orders. Without a weapon, he asked a fellow comrade for a gun. Rifle in hand, he entered days of brutal battle. After being severely wounded for the 5th time, Jacob finally faltered, merely yards away from the Confederates at Laurel Hill. This unwavering rectitude was a virtue many of the Erie infantry seemed to possess. It both kept them alive in times of dire impossibility and also damned them in a wake of often poor generalship and governmental misjudgments. Even in the wake of disillusionment, members of the 111th Pennsylvania soldiered on. The bloodshed at Antietam on September 17, 1862, was unprecedented. It was the bloodiest day in American history. In letters, Union soldiers often lamented the death of their comrades, especially when they felt it was due to their nation's leaders. Although I have seen victims of death in almost every form, I cannot help shuddering when I think of the tens of thousands that have died and been torn to pieces in every form, and all caused by a few accursed politicians. People at home have no idea or can imagine the horrors of a battlefield. Erie County resident John Wells, 111th Pennsylvania Regiment. Many battles seemed futile, and some were obvious turning points during the war. In both cases, Erie County's regiments never gave up the fight, and in their patriotism, they helped ensure that our government of the people, for the people, and by the people did not perish from this earth.